I believe I'm live. Welcome to I Protest. This is Donald Jeffries here with you. So we are every Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern on these fine streams, wherever you're watching it. You can watch it on YouTube and my X. and I don't know if it's set up on Rumble or not. I'm not sure. Tony's not here. He's doing this remotely. So, but most of you seem to watch it on YouTube. And lately we have not been in detention, so that's a good thing. I think Chris Graves is going to be joining me. I saw him in the chat room. Chris, you should have the link from Tony. Excuse me. Otherwise, it'll be just us chatting as we have been doing a lot lately, because most of you seem to like it that way. Good to see the familiar faces. And then Deborah Wheeler is always first saying big hug to Riley. And I said I really can't give Riley a big hug, although she is down here. She missed last week's show for some reason. She never misses I Protest. I'm not sure what she was staging a protest herself or something. Uh, but anyhow, she's here front and center today. So, we will hopefully be talking to Chris. If Good to see you, Don Lambert, Pat the plumber, Piper Fogel. Good to see you guys here. So hopefully have a lot more of you here, because when I do the show by myself, I need the active chat. So I need you guys to kind of lead the conversation a lot of times. And if you have questions or comments for me, it's been another exciting action-packed week in America 2.0. If you don't subscribe to me on Substack, you should. Excuse me. That's Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. It's called I Protest, just like this podcast. And I just published a new piece today, so hopefully you'll be reading that. It's called Epstein, Springsteen, and Trumpenstein. And we just kind of go over some of the crazy stuff that's been going on in Trumpenstein's world. So please read that if you get a chance. Freethinker 59. Good to see you too. White Wolf is here, who's known as Timberwolf in some parts now, but we know him as White Wolf. He asked me, "What does Donald think of the new Pope?" You're way more up on the Catholicism than I am, WW. And I'm much more of a typical Catholic than you are. I have a huge Catholic family, and you know, because I've been to mass a few times over the years. I probably am the most Catholic member, and I still say I'm a Catholic. That's the strange thing about Catholics, is that you raise your kids as we raised our kids Catholic, and typically if you go through your confirmation, then you're considered a full Catholic. But not many of them stay with the church after that, and that has been the case in my family. I got born againers in there. I don't know anybody that goes to mass regularly. So I all I know about the Pope is that he's American, first American Pope. The fact he's white kind of shocks me, to tell you the truth, because I thought they were going to get a Pope of color, a POC. And here's Chris Graves. Here he is. There he is. Chris, how you doing? I can't hear you, Chris. You must be muted. I see you're muted.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay. So how's it going, Chris?
It's been rough. I don't know if anyone can see my backdrop that I have had for the last few years. This trailer.
Yeah.
This is going away. So I'm really glad that you're having me on with you, Don, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to podcast again, to be honest with you, because my sister and we have to find another place to live. So right now, I don't know if you can see. There's all kinds of trash bags and stuff. I'm trying to clear out this trailer right now. I don't know if anyone out there knows what it takes to clear out a loved one's belongings and things like that. But
yes, yeah.
it's a very painful thing, because if I had the money, I would not be throwing out everything that I've been coming across. But
hopefully they'll have some advice for you in the chat as well. But did you, as I said, the first thing you need to call a realtor. That's the first thing. You have to do that, and because he has to get you, or he or she has to get you going, and that because and it is terrible. I've had to do it too many times with my brother, my brother-in-law,
I just can't
my
find the
parents.
title right now. That's the most
Well,
discouraging thing right now. I can't
well,
find the title because
that
it's
is
all
discouraging. That is discouraging, but call the realtor anyhow and tell them you can't find the title, but that you're the son and you're thank goodness for those of you know, Chris obviously has been in desperate financial straits for as long as I've known him. And
which is really disappointing because I have always wanted to be able to tell my good friend Don Jeffries good things or whatever, but I really do feel like I I put myself in this situation and I own up. I'm owning it. So uh, the only way forward to survive is to try to find my sister a place to live and myself. And I have my demons. I have my legal issues and everything. And I just want to be able to have some kind of a life. And
of course, of
uh,
course.
today is, the no time like the present, I think is the saying. So,
No, that's what they say. If they ever get you in another program, I think they still use the "today is the first day of the rest of my life" thing. That used to be their credo in all of those programs.
yeah,
People realize don't worry about the past and forward, but don't focus so much on the title. Get the realtor first, and explain because by law you should inherit it. And Chris will be able to come into a good sum of money. For him, it would be like hitting the lottery. So you need to do this. Don't let it slip by. And if the trailer people talk to you, or if you haven't talked to them, let them know what's going on. Say, hey, I'm going to be selling the trailer, and we have to get it cleaned out and everything, so they know what's
the
happening.
the the only my hesitance to what you're saying, like I agree with you, but my only hesitance is this whole time by letting people know what is going on is that gives certain people the right to just be like, hey, you got to get out of here now. And I go to the homeless shelter, and then I have no way of trying to sell the trailer on my own. So
No, I think they'll understand that you don't even have to tell them you're staying there. Just tell them they know your mother is dead, and because you said you heard from her or something,
we got a
and just
condolence letter. Yeah. So
yeah,
they
right,
know
right.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So they know that. So just all you need to do is let them know. We're in the process. We're getting everything cleaned up out of here. We're going to be selling the trailer. And that's
Yeah.
all you have to do. Now, and if they say anything about the $600 rent that's coming up next time, whatever, just say. And again, that's why you need to get a realtor involved because whatever rent it transpires while you're trying to sell it, again, they can take that out of your proceeds.
Right. Right.
So let them know that. I mean, I dealt back in the day. I've dealt with people whose homes were being foreclosed on, and we would always let the lender know. Excuse me, and they were happy to just I people that were 4 or 5 months behind that had not paid their mortgage, but we put it on the market, and all that came out of their proceeds. So
Right.
you can so it'll it'll happen, but you have to get somebody else involved because you can't do it on your own.
I can't
Uh,
right now. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, but that's what you need to do because you have to. This is you stand to come out of this. Obviously you miss your mom. It's terrible, but financially speaking, this is you have a chance here that most people in your situation don't have.
I
That's
just want
all.
to make sure that my sister, who is disabled, I just want to make sure that she is safe and has some kind of housing. And
Right, right. Well,
The state of Massachusetts has failed her for the last decade. And my mother and I have tried our best. And the stress of that situation, I think, contributed to not only my current health situation with the congestive heart failure, but also my mother ended up having 2 heart attacks. And I'm not blaming my sister at all. I love my sister. She has schizophrenia, and she was the day we found out that our mother ended up passing. She ended up taking off. She told me she was going to go to the 7-Eleven down the street, and I ended up getting a call from her about a day and a half later that she ended up calling 911 while walking to the store or whatever, and she made her way all the way to Boston, and I'm in Taunton right now. So
Mhm.
she had the she was smart enough to uh, you know, she was able to basically get herself in a situation where she could try to get help, but the her team, as she was telling me about, her team that was at the Pembroke psychiatric hospital, they they basically told her, like, she was hoping that they would set her up with like a situation where she could get housing and a job, and they ended up bringing sending her back yesterday.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing. That's amazing. That's
I can't do it by myself. I can't, and I'm not blaming her at all. Like, I love her, and
no, it's great you're still thinking of her in your situation, but you got to put yourself first. And but both of you, you need to get the thing you need to concentrate on is you need to contact a realtor, and you needed to have done that days ago. You need to get the realtor involved, and if the first one blows you off, just get there's a realtor every 5 feet everywhere. Believe me, we're everywhere. So you'll find one that'll want to do it.
right.
And you don't have to hire them if you don't like the way. Just talk to one who agrees to deal with your set of circumstances.
Well,
But
I'm gonna take your advice on the phone the other day. Do not go with We Buy Houses or We Buy.
no, 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 because
Yeah,
they're gonna load because you at this point you want to get every penny you can out of the place because this is first of all this is your inheritance. And
yeah,
yes, it's a mess, and you're gonna have to do it. So you're gonna have to pay somebody to get that stuff out of there. But which you can't do yet. But again, you have to talk to them, and they'll be able to work that out.
right.
Um, Free Thinker 59 says, "See if you can get your sister to eat carnivore, Chris. It has done wonders for people with schizophrenia." I never heard that before.
I don't know what that means, but thank
I
you.
I, I think he means a all meat diet. I think what is it they call that now? It's a
I'm not
paleo.
sure.
No, is it a paleo diet or something? I think it means eating meat. Is it
Yeah.
just? I think Free Thinker clarify in there, but I think that's what he means. A carnivore. That's what I think when I hear it.
Well,
So
free thinker. This might not mean anything to anybody, but our utilities are going to be shut off in the next few days, so it's not going to matter what any of us are eating. So
oh, well, that's again why, Chris, you have to
we,
act on the realtor. You got because you can't. You don't want the things to because then again they can work all around that. When you do that, and then what you do is uh, you can have the realtor. They can contact. In this case, you don't have a mortgage company because it's paid off, but
yeah,
you can have them contact the utilities and explain the situation that it's going on the market and that the children don't have the wherewithal to pay for the utilities right now. They can figure that out. Again, he can work that out, and they can take it out of your proceeds. So do that. Don't let it don't let it
yeah.
just slip away like that.
I'm going to
So
try my best. Yeah.
yeah, you can do that. So anyhow, so anybody else continue in the chat if you have advice for Chris. Most of you know how to contact him, but the biggest advice, like I said, is you have to contract the realtor. Is the first step. After you do that, then you can talk about all the other stuff, but just concentrate on that and see the goal. The goal is to get enough money where you'll be able to get a car, and you'll
Right.
be able to that way you can transport you and your sister. And
I just want my sister to have some kind of housing. That's it.
right, well, you have to get yourself some kind of housing first too. So it is going to complicate things if you get that kind of money. You're not going to qualify for anything probably, but
Right.
your sister still should. I don't know why this, but this is again as an indictment, and I've known too many people like this where the system throws at people that need help, and it explains why you see so many mentally ill people walking the streets. Any protest is full of them,
Yeah,
and it's because
I've had nightmares about that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's because again, when Ronald Reagan closed the mental institutions in the 1980s, I applauded that. I thought it was great because I was a young guy who didn't believe there was such a thing as mental illness. I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest too many times, I guess. And I loved Dr. Thomas Zaz, who was a renegade psychiatrist who wrote The Manufacture of Madness and The Myth of Mental Illness. And I
Yeah.
absorbed that stuff. And I thought, this is, because, and a lot of that still is true. Like they can, once they look at you as being mentally ill, then that's the way they look at you. And it's kind of hard to convince them you're not. But
Well,
once,
schizophrenia
yeah,
is one of the worst things.
yes, yeah. There's some things like, and now bipolar, which I think it sounds to me, it's kind of like a new way of saying schizophrenia. There's tons and tons of people with bipolar now. It's that kind of thing. But yeah, there are people that have chemical imbalances and something going on in their mind, so they need help.
Yeah.
So,
It's a real thing, Bose. In this
yeah.
instance, I've been dealing with it for the last 20 years, and the person that's been dealing with it is in the next room. So, not to belittle, I'm not belittling her at all, but it's a real thing.
No, Kian says, was your sister on SS? So your
No,
sister isn't on Social Security? Was she never was on it?
no. What happened was she ended up missing appointments with her psychiatrist uh,
Mhm.
because the trailer we're in, like the valley that we're in right now, it doesn't have
Mhm.
the best Wi-Fi. So
Mhm.
my mother, my mother that just passed away, um, she tried her best. That's all I can say right now is she tried her best, but um, my sister was never able to get her SSI back. So, and I kept a lot of our arguments. I had a lot of arguments with my mother about this stuff, and we were always trying to get assistance through the state, and the state said that she was fully capable of being her own like adult, like fully
Yeah.
functional. So
Yeah.
because of HIPAA laws and stuff, we can never talk to the doctor or whatever. And
No,
it
it's
is
tough. And
it is what it is.
yeah, I understand you represent, there's a lot of people out there like you, but I just want you to understand that you have something in your favor that most of these people don't have. Now it's bad you had to get it with your mom dying, but there you have an inheritance that's possible there for you that most of the people in your situation don't have a hope of that. So you
Right.
have that hope, but you have to make it happen yourself. You can't, it's otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to be kicked out of the trailer. I don't know how they could just I don't what they would do with it because you are her heir, but if you don't get involved, they can do all kinds of unjust things. But you have to make it known you're going to sell it. You have
But
to
here,
let them know.
but here's my question, Don. I 100% agree with what you're saying, but how can you go about selling a piece of property while you're still living in it? Because
Oh,
if I'm at a
well,
homeless shelter, are the attorneys and everything gonna go meet with me at the
no,
homeless shelter?
people sell. I mean, most houses. I mean, they're vacant properties, but most people are have occupants in the trailer. So but if you talk to the trailer people, I'm sure they would understand the situation. That just all you have to do is say, look, my sister needs to be taken care of, so I'm going to be here with her while we're trying to sell the trailer.
Right,
They'll understand that, and you could even say if they say something about the rent, say I've got a realtor, and you can talk to him, and he actually should talk, or he or she will talk to the trailer park people, just like they would talk to the mortgage company, and let them know, hey, look, this property is going to be in the market. You're going to get your rent out of the proceeds when it sells.
right.
And
Okay.
Peter says that Peter Seacosh is here. Lots of good names here.
Is he gonna
Stephanie
join
Graham.
us?
No, he says he's working, so he can't. Whenever he's working like that, he is because he's on top of a roof or something, so he can't get any kind of good. He's constantly going in and out and everything, so it's a distraction. But and of course, I didn't give him hardly any notice, like I didn't give you any notice either. But good to
No,
see you, Stephanie Graham. So you're
we had a great conversation, like a good hour and a half conversation last night. And Peter Seacosh is one of the best guys out there, and people should really support him. if they can. You know,
Absolutely.
he's a comic book artist, but he also has another child on the way, and he works construction and really solid guy that I met through Mr. Donald Jeffries. So
Absolutely. He and you both are, fantastic research team. I'm very lucky to have you. Uh, Chris doesn't, the physical title, they should be able to work around that, Peter. Again, that's why you need to, because instead of just hunting around for the title, because you don't, again, what are you going to do with the title? That's it. You need to sell that. So get the realtor involved. They know how to do all this stuff. And they'll tell, and if you tell them, I can't, everything was all, cluttered around here. I don't know where my mother put the title, and I can't find it. So they will understand that legally speaking, you inherit
the only thing, Don,
the
like I agree with you. The only thing that has been keeping me hesitant is the fact that my sister ended up coming back. She was brought
right.
back from the psychiatric hospital. The only thing keeping us in here right now is really nothing, to be honest. But the
Right. So
moment you make,
you,
the moment you make it like more known, like we already got a condolence letter from like the estate or
right,
whatever the
right.
thing. But like the moment that they get involved, then it's like get out of here,
Well,
goodbye.
yeah, that's what they're going to do, but they're going to do that anyhow. So if
I
you
know,
let them know you're selling it, all you're going to do is maybe buy yourself a week or something. And that's you have to think, okay, I have to get this thing sold. You
right,
have to be on they don't have to know that you have nowhere else to stay. Again,
right,
you have to learn to bullshit these people. Just tell them my sister's, has issues. She's schizophrenic. My mother just said my mother took care of her. So,
yeah,
so I'm gonna have to take care of her now. So I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna, move in and make sure she's okay while we're waiting. And hopefully this won't take long to sell the trailer and clear. But that's what you have to do. I mean, if anybody has any other uh, ideas in the chat, but this is kind of an area that I know, because
and
I,
for
I
anyone else.
worked it there.
For anyone out there that might be being like, oh, who cares about this guy or whatever? I had a car, right? I got in a car accident that was my fault. I totaled it and I hurt myself pretty bad. Like, I've been trying desperately to get some kind of disability lawyer or whatever in the last since New Year's Eve. I got kicked out of Boston Medical Center, and they told me that I was supposed to receive physical therapy for my lower back. And instead, they just kicked me out. And my sister, Michelle, that I'm talking about, she was able to Uber me back from Boston to Taunton, it was like an $80 Uber ride. And I've been here pretty much since, and I haven't healed up the right way, in my opinion, because my lower back is still killing me. If I still have my car, it was my own fault. But if I had my car right now, I'd be able to get my sister and myself out of the situation that we're in right now,
Well,
and
well,
maybe my mother would still be alive. You know?
Well, you can't blame yourself for that, but you're going to just concentrate, keep your eyes on the prize, as they used to say.
Yeah,
Concentrate on what you're going to get out of the house. You have to sell it. And one of the things you should do with that money is get another car, and not to buy. And actually, my son John was making. I don't know how much do RVs cost? Is that feasible? How much? I don't
I
even know
would
how
do
much.
that. I would do
I mean,
that. Yeah,
yeah, I mean that's good. Then you have a place to live too.
right.
I
I
mean,
would do that.
that's so
Totally.
I don't know anybody in the chat room know what an RV costs, but I mean, if you make I think you're going to make a decent chunk of change from this. You
And I
should.
like driving around anyway. So, like, driving across the country again, like, and actually having
Yeah,
like a place to live while you're doing that, that
right.
sounds appealing to me. I'm 41 years old, and I haven't I've done jack shit with my life so far. I would,
Yeah.
I would welcome that with open arms.
White Wolf says some of the things in the trailer might be you might be able to sell them on Craigslist or maybe eBay. I don't know
I've
if you
been,
have anything
I've been
valuable there. I don't know
trying
if your
that in
mother
the
does your
last.
mother have any.
I've been trying that. Like we have certain furniture and everything behind me. Like I've been trying that,
Yeah.
but our internet is going to be shut off at midnight tomorrow night. So I'm against the clock with that too. So I
Chris, you absolutely have to. When you get off the that, in fact, maybe I'll only keep you an hour or something. You need to contact a realtor immediately because you're losing time. You only have a couple days for internet and all that stuff. And once you tell him all that stuff, then um, it's when you tell him, look, I'm not going to be able to pay these utilities, including the internet. My
yeah,
mother paid all this. Then see if they can work out something like where they can cover those things while the house is on, because it might, hopefully would only take a week or two, maybe. I don't know how.
usually I looked
I've never
into it
sold
about.
trailers.
You said about 10 days. Like I looked into it a
Okay?
couple days ago. Yeah,
Yeah, so they should be able to help you out with that and take all that out of your proceeds. I would think. Um, Chris Buchan, your buddy, said you can get a decent RV for $50,000 right now. So we'll see. But again, that's just one idea. I don't know if that's the best idea for you.
I
And
love Chris. I love Chris Buchan. Like I don't think he likes me very much, but I appreciate Chris Buchan.
yeah, I think he's a good guy at heart. He just likes to yank people's change. John Bascon says, "Don't ever buy a new RV. That's a dumb move. You can get a." Oh, I said you can get a clean one for less than 10,000. So you should be able to do that. And Kenny Finn Power says, if you have a library local to you, you can. I did that way back in the day. You can go always use the internet in the library if
I
you have
did
to.
years ago. Yeah, my originally when the internet was beginning, I went to my local library in 1996, and yeah, even back then in Norfolk, Massachusetts, I was able to look up our conspiracy world and everything. Even back then, this is
Hmm.
circa 1996 in Norfolk, Mass.
Yeah, no, and I remember I had because back in the probably about the same time because when the internet was first coming, it wasn't that cheap, and we were struggling.
Do you
I didn't
remember
have a
they called it?
computer.
Do you remember at the time they called it telecommunications? Because I remember the mail we would get for at the very beginning. They didn't even call it the internet, Don. They called it
Yeah,
telecommunications.
right, right, and it was certainly it was something that was like this wide wonderland out there, and I wanted desperately to have it, but it wasn't like it eventually became where it was easier to get,
Yeah,
um, but that original
not until
that
AOL in circa '98. I remember
yes,
AOL kind of broadened it more.
yes, AOL was big then, and what was it I had? That was it Juno. I think Juno was the cheapest internet. Juno and
Juno and Lycos and all these other
yeah,
search.
Lycos are, but I think Juno, if I remember, was the cheapest one that I had for a while, but
Yeah,
it had so many pop-up ads and it limited I think it limited how much you could be online or something. You had a certain like it was
if
ridiculous.
you wanted to download like a photograph online, it would take like 30 minutes. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, that was definitely those are the you hear the great sound of the 56. Well, I guess I had a 28.8K modem. It was even before the 56K modem.
Yeah,
So it was definitely
the Wild
the
West.
the Wild West. So yeah, so so everybody I know is rooting for you out there, but you got to you
I got to
just
survive
you
somehow.
yeah, you
Yeah,
do, but you got to step up and do this. This the really you don't have any other choice other than to go through the realtor. You got to do that. So don't let anything else get you distracted. And dial up CompuServe. Yeah, Robin says CompuServe. Yeah, so I
CompuServe.
remember
Yep.
CompuServe too. But at any rate, so so everybody knows you. So again, call the realtor. That's what you got to do. So what else? What are your thoughts on if you have you been following things? I've seen you've done a couple of the podcasts. So what is are you paying attention at all to the
Well,
world out there?
I've called into Chuck Ocelli, our old buddy Chuck calling show.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Yeah, no, that he's been great. AM Wake Up. You remember Steve Poikinen?
Yes,
Uh,
of course. Yeah.
he he had me on last week, and to be honest with you, like all these podcasts in general, like I haven't personally like I made a special video on my Rumble channel for my mother because I wanted to preserve her final voicemail to me when I was in the hospital,
Hmm.
and I was able to achieve that. And I think even you said like the audio was fine and everything, and Peter
Yes,
told me the audio was fine. So I was able to get that done before my internet gets cut off and before anything happens to my cell phone. And so I achieved that goal. And other than that, just calling into these different podcasts have been able to keep my mind distracted, for lack of a better term. But
yeah. I think
I've been keeping tabs, kind of. I mean, it seems like with Trump, it's the same stuff like every day. So I've been trying to seek out more UAP or U. I told myself I'd never call it that, but the UFO situation.
yeah.
I don't really see anything new coming from that. I know they had another JFK hearing like a week
Yes.
ago,
Yep. Last week. Yep.
but
That was good.
are they ever going to give us the Oliver Stone film that he was mentioning that shows Lee Harvey Oswald like in front of the
Well,
motorcade? Because a lot of people
yeah.
are discrediting. A lot of people are discrediting that as being the Alton's photo with what's his face, the Lee Harvey double there,
Well, it's
Love
unclear
Lady. Yeah,
because yeah, Beverly Lovelady, but which I don't necessarily think it's Lovelady, but most of the community does. But the lovely Lady Luna, lovely, who is just, I mean, I'm smitten with her. When you're, she's so, I mean, she has such a sweet smile and she's so kind and she's talking about all this great stuff. So how can you not fall in love with her? But she's, to whatever degree, I'm sure, she's an Israeli shill and probably, who knows, works for the CIA. I don't know, but
she's
uh,
like
I'm
Shmuley's
smitten.
cousin,
Yeah,
Rabbi Shmuley's cousin.
yeah, exactly. I'm smitten with her, but she tries, but she messes up. And when she talked about that photo, I don't know what she was talking about because she said it's a photo that shows Oswald at the time of the shooting near a car, and I said, what is she talking
Yeah,
about? So she really didn't work. And then when they had the hearings with Eugenio and all these people that I know there, they didn't really clarify it. So I think it's the Wegman film. It's a film which um, I think unfortunately they're talking about the prayer man figure, and if they are,
uh,
it's an endless rabbit hole because the
yeah.
figure in the doorway that everybody thinks is Billy Lovelady, which I think still could be Oswald, it definitely doesn't hasn't been proven one way or the other, is a much clearer photo than the one of Prayer Man, which is from this Wegman film. He's back further into the shadows, kind of the depository, and you can't even tell if he's male or female. I mean, some pictures that it's he could be, it's possible, but
Yeah.
it's just not clear enough. You don't know. So why that was mentioned, I don't know. Plus, there's a bunch of real, you know, fanatics that push the prayer man theory to the. Most of them hate me, even though
Well,
I've
do you
said
think?
I.
Well,
Hmm?
did you think back in the day that the prayer man people were neocons? I remember. I think we were
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, yes, yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because it's led by the guy in Australia and all those people that hate
yeah,
me irrationally. So, but I mean, they're the same people that discount all the solid indications of conspiracy. They call the Oswald impersonations.
yeah.
And I got tired of arguing, but this is not the best evidence. So I think that's what she was talking about, but I still don't know. I
Well,
wish I could try to talk to her to get her to because she needs to be bone up on the facts, but I don't know
wasn't
who
it?
she has advisor.
Wasn't it referenced that it was Oliver Stone that made the claim and that he saw video footage that NBC was withholding that
Yeah, and,
showed?
and NBC, yeah, NBC is still withholding it, but I think it's that same film. So, but I
Yeah,
don't know because they're not. Yeah, Oliver Stone did say that, and I wish they would
more
because when
clear.
somebody like me is unsure of what they're talking about, and I've been studying this for 50 years,
Yep.
that they're not making themselves clear.
Right.
Chris Buchan says he's banged hotter strippers than Anna Polina Luna. Well, good for you, Chris. She used to be a stripper. I didn't know that, but well, I don't know. Um,
Different strokes.
yeah, different strokes. I guess you did well, Chris. But yeah, Doug Horn was on that show, and if you remember, I had Doug Horn on my show. I mean,
Yeah.
he was one of the witnesses, and Doug is a friend of mine, and he's a real good guy, one of the more underrated researchers. So she knew enough to get him on, Like
Yeah.
I said, which is real. It's very feasible that they could call me. It really should have some of the witnesses they've had so far, but um, I guess she just hasn't heard about me. But so it's nice. So it's nice to watch that and see Congress discussing this kind of stuff with people like him.
Yeah.
Chris says strippers aren't that hard to get done. You just have to know how to make them. Well, I don't doubt that they're that hard to get. I don't. Hey, maybe
Have you
after
really tried, Don?
you,
Have you really
when you
tried in
when you
your
stuff enough 20s in them, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know, but
Chris Bucking?
that's good for you. Yeah, Crispy. He's not. Well, he's not talking
Now,
about Jews today.
Don, did you ever hear about a possible another shooter with the RFK assassination? One that was, when RFK was going into the pantry and everything, and then you had Sirhan in front of him, but you had Eugene Caesar behind him, and he was
Yep.
basically his real killer. Do you remember any witnesses talking about another potential shooter that was there
Oh
that
yeah.
confetti came out of one of the guns, almost like it was like a blank, like on a movie set?
Yeah. There's another. And in fact, I was just talking to somebody. I'm not going to reveal their identity the other day. I have to keep this.
Really? Like,
Yeah. Just well, no, not a shooter, but somebody who's talking about that. That there's
well, what I'm
not
talking
that
about,
that
really?
exactly, but that there is. They think there was another shooter. So
Because
who knows? I don't know.
I went down that rabbit hole, in the last couple of months or whatever. And the theory, and I think Lisa Pease was someone that kind of refers to the same thing, but
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
her work. It wasn't exactly her work that I was referencing, but it was the theory that if Eugene Caesar, the security guard that
Hmm.
actually shot RFK from behind, almost point blank, that there was another shooter there as a backup in case Eugene Caesar wasn't able to complete the job, and that other witnesses definitely saw some kind of confetti coming out of like another firearm of another person. And some people reference the polka dot girl who said, "Oh, we killed Bobby," like running away or
Right.
whatever with another
Right.
guy.
Right. Hmm.
Does this make any sense that they would have a failsafe? Like if Eugene Caesar was not able to complete the task, because we already know Sirhan was the distraction. But do you
Right.
think like it would make sense, like logistically, like that they would have other shooters like in the vicinity in case Caesar wasn't able to complete the task?
Yeah. Sure. Of course. Is that's so obviously, I don't necessarily know think saying Eugene Caesar was the man that killed him, but he had a gun, and I've often thought maybe maybe there and he did have a gun, but he was a security guard, so
Yeah,
it's
but
feasible.
yeah, but let's be honest, Noguchi, with the autopsy said it was like point blank, like
Oh
against.
yeah, well it couldn't have been Sirhan, so it definitely
And
was not
Caesar
Sirhan.
was
So
the only one that was no, see, no, Sirhan was always like 8 feet in front of him. Like I
yes,
always
no,
thought.
yeah, no, he did. He never he never was in position to shoot him, which is why they attacked Noguchi and why our friend John Barber, that's
Yeah,
what John Barber lost his friendship and his job with Frank Sinatra
yeah,
over that because John Barber was very involved in trying because they tried to get rid of Noguchi and fire him, and
yeah,
John Barber was part of the campaign to save his job, and Sinatra didn't like that for whatever reason, and so it's one of the many things John did to sabotage his Hollywood career. But yeah, the girl in the polka dot dress girl. It's again, in hidden history, I have a lot about her because it was not just the one sighting that night
yeah.
where the old couple that the cop didn't get their names. He said he couldn't remember the names. Talked
They're
about the girl.
actually they give their testimony in that documentary, The Second Gun, I believe. That couple, I believe.
Oh, did they found the cop because he couldn't remember their name? Okay, I didn't. I
Yeah, I
haven't seen
remember
that, but
seeing them. Yeah, they ended up talking about that polka dotted girl, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, she was everywhere. And she, Sirhan was seen in the company of her and another guy several occasions leading
And
up to the shooting. So they
this
were,
this
it's like they were stalking him.
this other guy that you referred to, I think is the guy that had the confetti coming out of his gun, almost like
It
it
could
was
have
like a
been.
blank, kind of like another distraction type thing. Let me ask you this, Don. Just out of curiosity, do you think that Caesar couldn't have been RFK's actual killer?
Sure, I don't think it's necessarily true that he was, because everybody knew about him for years, and it just he was just kind of the well and he had kind of a murky background, I guess, and not any intelligence connections, I don't think, but I think he was just kind of a right winger,
But he
and
had like a
so
Lockheed Martin, I think. Didn't Lockheed
yeah,
Martin get
yeah,
him that security job like a week before? Like Peter like
yeah,
talks a
yeah.
lot
Yeah,
about
and
this too.
Peter's on here talking about Lisa Peace, talks about another shooter, yeah, and somebody else that I know is talking about is even another shooter. So again, everybody. That's why on all these things, I just kind of I don't think we know. All we know is that the autopsy, as you mentioned, proves that whoever shot him, it wasn't Sirhan because
Yeah,
he wasn't ever in position to shoot. He wasn't behind them, and he wasn't at point blank range. And I
right.
think Sirhan's uh, his his actions, which have always been to kind of say he didn't remember anything, and he talked about the girl giving him coffee, we assume was his the polka dot dress girl who was his handler,
Yeah,
and that somehow was a triggering mechanism. He was firing a gun, unlike Oswald and James Earl Ray and most patsies. He was
yeah,
firing a gun, but it was a distraction, as you
yeah.
said, and the real shit. So while everybody was distracted, who knows? There were a lot of bullets flying around the pantry. I mean, there were bullets in the ceiling panels, and of course, as standard operating procedure in all these cases, down to
LAPD. Yeah,
the material in the Epstein safe,
yeah.
these things go missing. So
Yeah.
somehow the LAPD got rid of the ceiling panels that had bullet holes in them, just like they
And
got
there's
rid of the
even
door jam.
photographs of them taking the panels out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you're right. And they had the cop pointing to the door jamb, which had the bullet hole in it,
Yep.
embedded had a bullet in it. So these are it's very obvious that there's more to this than meets the eye. And of course, again, people have
Yeah.
and that's why I say when you talk about I mentioned something about Epstein. Well, this is why it's such an interesting week, because when you had something, I don't know if you, I'm sure most people caught the ridiculous thing with Kash Patel, the great Brown Hope, I guess, or whatever, as FBI director, and Dan Bongino,
Yeah.
who are again saying coming out publicly and saying Epstein killed himself. I mean, this is this, and Dan Bongino. I mean, Jimmy Dore played a clip, and I know I had heard. I hardly ever listened to Bongino's show, but sometimes
Yeah.
when I was driving around, I thought for sure I heard him talking about Epstein and joking about it. Sure enough, he played a clip about how fishy that was. So now he's in a position of power, and it is. I mean, this is why people have no confidence at all, and this is the biggest. Why I say that for a long time I said the biggest problem in America that we would have to address to try to reform things is the disparity of wealth. The fact that half the people have nothing, have less than 1%, 50% of the people have less than 1% of the collective wealth. However, I think the overreaching corruption is more important now, and the fact no one's ever held accountable for it. So so it happens. So when you get something like this, you have Kash Patel, who all the conspiracy world say, "Oh, this is great. Yeah, this guy's great. He's been on shows and everything, and yeah, he'll go after these guys. He'll drain the swamp." Um,
Yeah.
and then you have Dan Bongino talking about some of these issues in a limited way, very limited way, not even anywhere near the level of Tucker Carlson. So he's nibbling around the edges. So people, oh yeah, it's great. He's got some great people, and then they go on, and the most probably the least disputed conspiracy theory of all is that Epstein didn't kill himself. I mean, the New York Times pretty much admitted it. So they go ahead and agree with this a thing that almost no one believes that Epstein did kill himself. So I think that they lost all credibility right there. And when Gino says, I seen the file," you seen the file that's missing everything that was in the Epstein's safe in his mansion, it consisted of tons of videotapes of probably famous people with underage girls, and all kinds of information was in that. It's gone. They tell you, well, we don't know where it is. It's
Yeah.
missing. But he's seen the file. What file have you seen? It still hasn't been released. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Did he see the Frazzle Drip supposed snuff film?
No, yeah, well, yeah, through this.
Which now gets like, if you bring up Frazzle Drip, it's almost like the Pizzagate thing. I'm like, oh, don't go there. That was all debunked years ago. Was it really? Was it ever
Yeah,
really debunked?
everything has been. Tell us about what the Prousal trip. I don't recognize that name.
Remember
What
Frazzle
stuff
Drip?
was?
Frazzle Drip was supposedly a snuff film that was on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Oh, okay,
It showed
okay. That
Hillary.
was on that was. I didn't know it was called that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it showed supposedly, allegedly, showed Hillary
oh, that
Clinton
was the one with
and
Hillary. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
Yuma, her right hand woman,
yeah,
Anthony
yeah, yeah,
Weiner's. They
yeah.
were wearing literally had like a cut off. Uh, it sounds way out there, but you know what? Reality is stranger than fiction. But I don't know if I believe it or not. But you know, who knows what was on Anthony Weiner's laptop? Much like Biden's laptop, like the idea that
Yes.
this thing called Frazzle Drip was on the dark web. They were talking about
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton was wearing like a mask of skin from a young child that her allegedly Don's not saying this, and I'm just saying allegedly from what is out
Mhm.
there that
Mhm.
apparently there's a snuff film involving Hillary Clinton wearing the flesh of a young
Yeah, we've heard
child
that.
that yeah, but
Well, yeah,
who
and I
knows?
say what are on all these laptops? It's a small world. John Bassiglin said Thane Eugene Caesar worked with my brother at Riker
Really?
Laboratories in Northridge in the late 1970s. He was a plumber at the pharmaceutical plant my brother worked at. My brother said Caesar was a loner. Well, there's a shocker, another loner. Uh, Peter Seacott says, didn't Frank Sinatra try to get Noguchi fired over Natalie Wood? Yeah, I think
Really?
that was the yeah, I think that was the impetus, not the Kennedys. That Sinatra, I guess, knew Natalie Wood, and he didn't want to. He was protecting Robert
Well,
Wagner. I don't know.
Noguchi was the coroner for not only RFK but also Marilyn Monroe and
Oh, yep, yep.
John
John Belushi.
John Belushi. Yeah,
Yeah, oh, yeah, all of them. He was, and
he's
he
still
all the
alive, and I
celebrities.
tried to get him in contact with you. Yeah,
Yes, 90 some years old. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
so he survived.
yeah.
Yes,
But
photos of
he,
Peter.
but he knew enough about what happened in Dallas and Bethesda that he knew, like he stuck to his guns when it came to his findings with RFK's autopsy. He did not, and that I think was his downfall, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, I think that was it because I mean, Marilyn Monroe, he caught some flack for that. But then in Marilyn Monroe, he kind of capitulated and went along with it, unfortunately. But in RFK, he held his ground. He didn't. John Basquiat. That's an interesting connection, John. Later, Caesar worked at Riker Laboratories in the late 70s. Riker's in Northridge, California, 15 miles from Burbank. White
Yeah,
Wolf says Anthony Weiner is sitting on top of the Biden laptop, which is sitting on top of the Epstein black book, which is sitting in a safe in the White House. Absolutely,
a
yeah.
lot of
That's it.
laptops.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing. See, when you okay, is that and I didn't know it was called that, but yeah, we've all heard that Hillary Clinton supposedly. I mean,
yeah,
it's impossible it is to believe. Supposedly, she kills or tortures it and kills a child on Weiner's laptop. Well, again, where is it? How come we've never seen a laptop? Has
yeah.
anybody talked about it? It's Weiner, I guess, got a slap on the wrist, and now he's back. You know, doing whatever he does. And then you had Hunter
Hunter
Biden,
Biden.
who again they just stopped talking. Nobody talked about what was originally, and I think
Wasn't it?
Giuliani was talking
Was,
about it.
yeah, and they were talking about how there was a young Chinese
Yes, a
female
10-year
that
old Chinese that
yeah,
he raped a 10-year-old Chinese girl on a
allegedly,
laptop,
right,
allegedly. And
right,
then, but we also know I've seen the pictures blacked out that he has. I mean, he was not only screwing his dead brother's wife, which is odd enough. I mean,
yeah,
I guess I'm not saying that. I guess that could happen. I mean, it's not that his was dead, but it's kind of weird. But still, okay. Granted, it's not the greatest sin in the world if they cared for each other. But at the same time, she had a 14-year-old daughter, which is his niece, and she apparently appeared on this laptop in various stages of undress many times,
yeah.
and she was underage. So again, and I don't know if you, I remember I saw a picture of. Now they, of course, blacked out the little girl, but I mean, she was little. She wasn't 14. I mean, this is I don't even know if she was out of kindergarten yet. She was tiny, and they
Like
had her like dress.
Yeah.
you couldn't see her face, but she had like I don't even a dominatrix or something. She was dressed very inappropriately in black or something, and Hunter Biden is like naked walking behind her or something. So again, I don't know. They would probably claim that's CGI or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there's a lot on that laptop. And all you've seen is him, asleep in the bathtub with the crack pipe and the claiming that there's stuff with him with prostitutes. And again, when they talk about him with prostitutes, I get
That
that's
was the
nothing.
the thing you're describing right now. That was the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky thing, because
Yeah,
they stuck him with the Monica Lewinsky thing because that took focus away from the Clinton body count, the actual murder and everything. That was like, oh, he just had an affair, on his wife and everything. It took all the heat with Kenneth Starr and everything, took all the heat away from the actual real crimes. Like, what was it, over 200? Like, and now with Hillary included, like the Clinton body count is like almost 300.
of course. And this is what I'm saying, trying to figure out Trumpenstein. This is, a week when, of course, there's a lot of Trumpenstein stuff, and I just wrote about it in Substack. But then he does do something which is took some balls. It's ultimately meaningless because it's just symbolic, but and you have that South African president in the White House and to just basically belittle him like he did Zelensky. It's just, I mean, I think they're all actors because the guy just kind of sat there chuckling and took it all in. But and he showed the films we were talking. He showed the films of the thousands of people in the stadium chanting "Kill the Boer," and he showed the white crosses and all that stuff. And you still have the left saying, somebody was arguing with, she didn't argue with me, but I just kind of answered today saying that's all disinfo. Or say, what do you mean it's disinfo? It's, I mean, I don't, I, these, this, you, again, if they can claim nothing matters, I guess but ultimately it's meaningless because they even said, like, they asked Trump, what could he do about it? He says, I don't know what I can do about it. He can't do anything about it. It's another country, but it took some balls to do that because no other white leader has done that. And I said, this is the first time I think Trump has ever mentioned white people in the White House when he first said so. This, he's too busy pardoning rappers usually. So I give him credit for that, but it's symbolic. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't solve any of our problems. And
Yeah.
ball busters. Thank you. You should have me back. And I'm not sure which show you're referring to, but sure, I'm all in to go on with
There's
whoever
there's
wants me on.
somebody named Ballbusters.
Ballbuster, Ball, Ballbusters, I guess.
That's my cousin.
Uh, no, was that your cousin? Yeah.
No, 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 no.
The White Wolf says Clinton was involved with Iran Contra. Danny Castellera was, yeah, Danny Castellera
Yeah.
was, yeah, definitely. And I was trying to get that woman on. I haven't been able to contact her that made I guess it's his relative or something, had the film that was on Netflix about it. It was pretty decent
Did
thing
you
about
ever
Danny
have
Castellera.
further contact with the mother of one of the boys on the tracks? Because I know we talked
Oh
about that.
yeah, Linda Hayden Ice. She was a friend of mine, and she unfortunately died about 3 or 4 years ago.
And
And she
her
was,
daughter did too, like almost
yes,
like immediately.
like 6 months later. Yeah, and it was because I'd started talking to her, but I wanted to have Linda on the show. Just a really career. There's somebody that nobody will know who she is. Her name's Linda Hayden Ives. Her
Yeah,
son was Kevin Ives. One of the boys on the tracks was Don Henry and Kevin Ives, and
yeah,
she was very helpful in hidden history. She sent me all this information in email about all these other tangential deaths, all these other boys they knew, these other kids they knew that died too. I mean,
yeah,
there was a whole body count just associated with those boys on the tracks,
yeah.
and she was by herself. Her husband, her ex-husband wouldn't, and the other family wouldn't. Nobody was interested except her. And she tried for a long time, but she had health issues for a while. And I wanted to get her on the show, and she could never make it. And then unfortunately, she died. And
I
then her
think the
daughter, I
rest.
was talking.
You remember the wrestler?
Oh
The
yeah,
wrestler
yeah. There's
that
yeah,
that made the claim that he was there and he made a videotape, a VHS videotape, and everything.
yeah.
He disappeared
Apparently,
during COVID, I think.
yes, he disappeared. Apparently, that I don't know. I've talked to. There's a couple of people, and again, I'm not saying they're. I can't figure them out. A couple of people, and they're just. I can't get the story straight enough to have them on the show. They're just all over the place, but they claim they know the secret about all this and about
Really?
the kids on the tracks. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I just said one of them keeps posting about me saying, "Ask Donald Jeffries. He knows all that." I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about because it's just
Right.
not clear enough. And that's the problem is I hear from people like that have big stories to tell and
Yeah.
grand injustices and grand corruption. Of course, I'm interested in that, but most of the time they can't put it together. I said, if I can't understand it, the audience isn't going to understand it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Kia Nakuma, I appreciate you checking for. Yeah, actually, I don't have anything set up now. Anybody want to interview me? I'm free. John
Well,
Bescon says Monica Lewinsky prosecution circus was a red herring to distract from the Christopher Cox report where Clinton and Gore were giving military technology and other intelligence to China. Well, not to mention, too, like, again, this is the same house. And again, remember Lindsey Graham, a young Lindsey
yeah.
Graham was one of the House impeachment managers. That's where he got his start. And that was, not only did they have Whitewater, Hillary's cattle shares, Vince Foster, you had Waco, which I think was just, I still think is the most impeachable offense in the history of the world. The president, if you're not impeached for murdering a bunch of American citizens in their home using gas banned by the Geneva Convention, I don't know what it would be. So they ended up impeaching him over something really stupid, well, the least of his crimes. And so, of course, everybody just laughed about it. And, so many people say, hey, you impeached him over a blowjob. And, yeah, well, they didn't impeach him over many impeachable things. Um, hold on a second. John Bascon just said he just. Oh, Wano. So Tall Tim is saying, do you guys know this Wano Savin? I've heard of him. Isn't he one of the most foremost Q proponents? If I think so. Um, and he still claims Trump's the white hat. And, John Bascon, I said, so I guess 107 just died. He also killed his wife, the wrestler. His wife was a wrestler.
107 is what the Q people think JFK Jr. is alive and well.
Oh,
And you
I
remember
thought,
that?
I
And
thought
they have
they,
that photograph of this really ugly guy that they say, "Oh,
yeah,
it's him, like aged 20 years." You know,
yeah. Okay, well, I called the, I mean, what was his name? He's
Todd
got a name
Bergen,
though. No. The guy they claim is JFK Jr. is what's his name?
107.
No,
Yeah.
but 107. But there's another. There's a guy he's what's his name? Anybody in the chat help? That's always at. He's at all his. He was at the Pennsylvania thing, front and center. What's
Oh,
his name?
yeah. I
And
can't.
I
Yeah,
think he's even been interviewed. But
I can't
Robin
remember.
Lee, good to see you, Robin. Said they impeached Clinton because he lied under oath. Well, yeah, of course. I'm not saying he did lie, and what really what he did with Monica Lewinsky was still wrong because he was first of all he was pressuring a very young White House intern for sex and doing it in the Oval Office. And again,
Well,
it's not up.
Don. There's theories that Monica was a Mossad agent. I know that sounds way out there, but
Yeah,
Um, there's theories that not only was she a Mossad agent and that it was to take the focus off the Clinton body count with kind of the Star report and everything going on at the time.
right,
You
right.
also have to look at, I think it was the movie, it was either the movie Primary Colors with John Travolta or Wag the Dog with Robert De Niro, where you actually see like a Clinton like figure and a Monica Lewinsky like figure wearing the beret and everything. And it was like a year before the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So it was almost like that synchronicity thing, like in the media or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know
no,
if you remember
there's
that. Do you remember that?
yeah, I think there's again the Clinton. I called it conspiracy central
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
for a reason because I mean
And then
it was
the
the
Cooper guy too, that was innocent. The subway killings in D.C. Like you brought my attention onto that whole thing, and that was another intern in the Clinton White House.
The Starbucks murders. Yeah, yes, that's
Yeah,
exactly it. Yep, that guy tried to find him. He was deep in the black hole of the prison system. I don't know where he is,
I found
but
him, and he ended
but
up, I
he was.
believe, dying in prison. Yeah,
Yeah, he could. We wouldn't even know.
because I found his
Tall
widow.
Tim says Juan does not claim he is junior. He just said that apparently Trump was picked up by 20 generals to run to save the country. Who knows? I mean, again, that's Billy Jack Hayes. Okay, John Baskin was talking about Billy Jack Hayes. Just that. That's the wrestler, Billy Jack
That's the
Hayes. Okay.
wrestler with the videotape. Yeah,
Yeah, he was
supposedly.
away. Oh, I didn't know he murdered his wife. But yeah, the people that I've talked to and that because there's a whole community. There's a Facebook group for the boys on the tracks, and
Yep.
again, a couple of them are very out there, but they all told me the same thing as Billy. And Linda Hayden Eyes, I think had told me. I think I talked to her about it before she died, and she thought he was, some kind of scam artist as well. But
I cut you
unfortunately,
off earlier. Did you say you were in contact with her daughter that ended up dying like 6 months after Linda?
yeah, I had communicated with her, and I was hoping maybe to get her on the show. But and yeah, that was, and I talked to her cousin, I think, or something, and they didn't have that many details, but apparently she had just come back from and she was in her, I want to say she was 40ish maybe, and
Yeah.
she had just come back from, I think, having a minor gallbladder surgery or something, I think, if I remember right,
This
and
was
she
in the
was.
height of the COVID stuff, 2020, I think, right around that time.
It might have been, but she got out of the hospital, and she was in the driveway, and she got out of the car and supposedly just collapsed. So
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's a typical, typical body count type thing.
yeah, yeah.
Robin Lee says, anybody take Ken Starr seriously? He hired Kavanaugh to take over the foster case.
Nope.
Exactly. That's what I said at the time. When the big to do about Kavanaugh, about the woman, the ridiculous woman that claimed he had sex with her, wasn't sure where or exactly when.
Yeah.
Kind of a foretelling of E. Jean Carroll with Trump, but she, that was the women went, oh, I believe her, all that stuff. Hey, what do you believe her? You don't have to have something more substantial than that. I mean, would you want your son to have to or to deal with something like that? But nobody
You
mentioned
opened
anything
my
about
eyes a
Kavanaugh.
lot to the Vince Foster thing because that was a
Yeah,
little bit before my time. But just the
yeah.
fact that they moved his body and he had the suicide note was in the trash or whatever, and other
Right. They
people
tore
had
it.
access to the office and everything.
Yeah, and but the Brett Kavanaugh is exactly right. Is that he was the one in charge of the Vince Foster cover, or it was a cover up because they didn't investigate it for
Yeah.
Kenneth Starr, and nobody mentioned that. And of course, Trumpenstein had alluded to, well, some people think, Vince Foster, somebody killed him. He didn't kill himself, which he'll do all the time.
Yeah, with
And then
Scarborough. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then he mentioned, he points to RB Ham, my buddy from Canada, Great White North. Good to see you, RB. He says, don't neglect the Bush body count. Oh no, and in history we have tons of the guy that was writing a book on Bush. Remember that? And he came
James
on.
Hetfield, not Hetfield from Metallica, but James Hetfield. And
Yeah, James had.
I was talking to Charlie Robinson about now that he's like the editor of Activist Post. We were talking about doing like a retrospective on people like Jim Keith, Danny Castellaro, Dave
Yeah,
McGowan, Bill Cooper, but also James Hetfield. And there was even a documentary about James Hetfield. He was found dead in like a motel hot tub or whatever. And they ended up buying all of his books up to suppress it.
yeah,
Fortunate son.
and yeah, Fortune Son. But Hatfield, there was a documentary made or something, and in the documentary, Hatfield turns to the camera and basically says, "If anything happens to me, you know what happens." Like what?
Yeah.
So these things, they
I was going to get the documentary filmmakers. I was going to get them on my podcast at a certain point, but it fell through. But yeah, it's out there. James Hetfield.
oh yeah, tall Tim says, "Is Terry Reid still around?" He was there in Arkansas. That's the guy. I think he's still alive, somewhat amazingly. I would love to get that guy because he wrote Compromise, and that's a fascinating book, and it peels the layers off this phony two-party thing because it talks about how Bill Clinton and Oliver North were
Yeah.
buddies, and they were both involved very heavily in the crack cocaine coming in through Mena Airport, which of course Mary Seal later was one of the many people
And
that added to the body count there.
the boys on the tracks. That's related.
Yeah, well, that was what happened. Is they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They happened upon a drug drop
Yeah.
when they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that
And they
was
ended up putting a blue tarp over them and putting them on the tracks. And they were actually killed before the train ran over them. Yeah.
yeah. So it's there's never any end of conspiracies to talk about. That's
Yeah.
I'm
But
looking at.
can I congratulate you on your coast to coast interview? Like I stayed
Oh,
up.
thank
I
you.
was like it was like 2 a.m. and I was trying to like call in and everything. That was great about JFK Jr.
Yeah, yeah. That was good to see you, Jacob. Jacob's here. Yeah, no, I was surprised that Richard wanted to talk about America JFK Jr. And so yeah, it's very cool. And it's one of those issues that again it's very important, especially considering that you have so many people now, as we've alluded to in the chat room, that think JFK Jr. is alive,
Yeah,
which is kind of ridiculous.
they blew him out of the sky, according to three witnesses. The sandy-haired guy, that Steve Sprazier from
yes,
WCVB Channel 5 interviewed on the island, and also Victor Probanik, who's a lawyer in
yes,
Pennsylvania. He claims he heard an explosion, but in my mind, and this is just speculation on my part, he's a lawyer, and I think maybe this was his way of protecting himself. I think he probably saw the explosion too, but with that
absolutely.
legalese, he said, "Oh, I heard it." But there was also another witness that a lot of people don't know about,
Yeah,
and
keep talking, Chris. I got to run. I'll be
sure,
right back.
sure, sure.
Okay.
There's another witness that Shepard Smith on Fox News in July of 1999 he actually named the person on live on the air that he claimed that was a wedding guest at Rory Kennedy's wedding that JFK Jr. was flying to that that morning. Um, and to this day, I have no way of getting the footage from Fox News of that Shepard Smith interview, but it was cited in various articles. I think John DiNardo was one of them. Also, a guy I was fortunate enough to interview on my old show, Get Mad, Pat Shannon. Pat Shannon, actually, he went to the island about a month after and talked to air traffic control people at the Martha's Vineyard Airport. And that's also where he found out about Buddy Wyatt, a guy. His nickname was Buddy, but his name was was Wyatt. His name escapes me right now, but anyway, he goes by Buddy Wyatt, and he actually was the last person, supposedly, that was in contact with John Jr., who was awaiting landing instructions at the time, and he. I really believe him. Buddy Wyatt, he ended up retiring out of Martha's Vineyard, and he ended up moving to Arizona. But yeah, Pat Shannon was able to ask people at the Martha's Vineyard control tower about, John Jr.'s final communications and everything. And they said that Buddy Wyatt conveniently went on vacation when Pat Shannon was there. So we had Don, when you were gone, I was just mentioning about John DiNardo, Pat Shannon, who I was able to interview at a certain point. They did kind of the original like boots on the ground reporting about
Yes, they did.
JFK,
Yeah.
and also John Quinn, who I think he's been doing a lot of like anti-Israel reporting, because I keep getting it in my email feeds or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
But he was an interesting guy too, and he had a lot of reporting on not only John Jr. but also Princess Diana, that crash, also the Columbine massacre, and he kind of John Quinn, who he was known as the news hawk at the time
Yes.
online.
Yes. He did a lot of stuff.
He kind of disappeared after 9/11, and I think I ended up asking him on the phone before I was able to get Don and him like connected with the
Yeah.
old truth frequency radio
Yes, we had
version,
him on. Yeah. Yeah.
and his phone was acting all weird and everything. And I think all he really wanted to talk about was Montauk Island and how like he was
Yeah.
experimented on or something. Like I don't know too
Yeah.
much about that. I mean, I don't know. I don't. I'm not saying he's lying about that, but he didn't seem to really want to talk about his reporting from back then. He kind of wanted to focus on the Montauk Island experimentation and things like that. But yeah, no, a lot of interesting stuff. But John Jr. That I'm always going to be looking into that because Ghislaine Maxwell actually had a connection too, because there were a few articles that came out that said that Ghislaine was trying to upset John Jr.'s marriage with Carolyn at various times or whatever. So, and that was right around 1998, 1999, and that would make sense actually if he was in the running for either the Senate seat in New York or an independent presidential run against Gore and Bush at the time. That would
Hmm.
make sense if he wanted to take down, you know, uh, JFK Jr. as being some kind of scandal or whatever. Ghislaine Maxwell was like she was prime, like she. And the reason I say that is because if you look at like the reporting, like in the year afterwards, Ghislaine Maxwell was the one that you know how uh what's her name Anthony, John Jr.'s cousin Anthony, that died of cancer about a month after John Jr.'s death. um
Yeah. Oh yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what what's her name? Oh, I
Yeah.
have it
She
here.
was
I have
she was one of the Real
the
Housewives later.
Housewives of
Yeah,
Beverly
yeah,
Hills. She
yep,
actually was introduced to Prince Andrew by Ghislaine Maxwell
yeah, yeah.
shortly
Mhm.
after Anthony's death in August of 1999. That
Yeah.
has to be connected somehow.
Oh, yeah, and that guy was JFK. I can't remember his name. I always forget, but her husband. It was JFK's cousin and best
Anthony,
JFK Jr.
Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony, best friend. They were each other's best men, I think. And
Yep.
so him dying right then was I suppose of cancer, but still was a little suspicious. And our friend Vince Agnelli, who I don't see in the chat room, but he turned me on. There were two Agnellis. Remember the?
In
And I don't think
Italy.
he's related in
The
Italy.
brothers
Yeah,
in
and
Italy.
one of them was called the JFK Jr. of Italy. He was very close to it. One of them died a couple years before JFK Jr. The other one was later found again, classic style, dead under a bridge.
Yeah.
So it's like this. How many people, especially in the upper class. Anyway, so it's RB Ham is. He said, "Do you guys think like I do? The shooting of the two Israelis in Washington was a false flag." I haven't looked at it too much, RB, but
Most likely.
the narrative was not what I expected. I figured to be somebody with a MAGA hat or a Muslim, but it's apparently some kind of Hispanic guy. So I don't know what do they even claim he has a motive? But yeah, obviously I'm skeptical of it, especially anything like that. It's like somebody painting a swastika somewhere. 100% of
Don,
the time, it's proven to be a hoax.
Don, I just remembered her name was Carol Radiswell. That
Radiswell, yeah,
was
Anthony Radiswell and
we
Carol Radiswell, yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
Carol
had her
Radiswell.
contact info and she wouldn't talk to me, and I tried to get
Yeah,
you
yeah. She
guys
didn't answer
connected.
me. She was
She was
Facebook friends with me briefly, and then she deleted me when I was trying to ask questions.
she was the one that Ghislaine was introduced, by Prince Andrew, like after Anthony's death. But also, she was the one that called the Coast Guard at 2 a.m. to inform them. She was at the airport, Don. She was at
Oh yeah,
the
she
air.
was the one. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I think, and this is speculation, I think it was her that was the wedding guest at Rory Kennedy's wedding that Shepard Smith cited on the air the next morning. I
Maybe
think it was
could be,
her at at
could
um
be.
at Jackie Kennedy's Redgate farm. I think she was
Yeah,
staying at John Jr. and Carolyn's their piece of property there, which I went and saw with my mother like a couple of years ago. I think she saw the explosion in the sky. I can't prove it, but I think just based on the fact that she was supposed to meet them at the airport, and she was the one that talked to Adam Budd. Remember Adam Budd, who won't
yes,
talk
I was going to
anymore?
say yeah, Adam Budd, and I ended up talking to Adam Budd's mother
Yeah,
early on, who was very nice, who didn't know anything, and
yeah,
but he never would answer me. And so again, I think he's just like a lot of these guys, Bergen and all these people. They got themselves in the middle of something. Especially Adam Budd, who was just a young kid,
yeah,
and he was the airport employee that Carol was and the friends were complaining to, and so
yes.
he tried to intervene on their behalf, and he was just a nobody,
He
and then
called the
later I get
FAA and they told him, "Oh, mind your own business" or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's what happens in these cases is that there's always a lot of loose ends to tie up because they don't know who's going to be involved here or there. Like I mean, we still don't know. For instance, we know that JFK Jr. was seen talking on the phone, but right before he took off,
You don't know who
and
he was talking to.
yeah, and so if it was just an innocent conversation, you think somebody would have come forward and said, I had the National Enquirer said JFK's last phone, dramatic last phone conversation, but nobody knows who he was talking to. Who was he
Well,
talking to?
I have an article where Ratheswell mentioned that she was on the phone with Carolyn while they were sitting on the tarmac.
Oh, okay, that's right. But and then you have the owner, the guy who sold the Piper Saratoga, and who has like a Hussein has like a damning Muslim name. I forget his name. It's very Muslim sounding, and
Well, a
he's
few of the 9/11 hijackers were at that same exact tarmac a couple of years before, and that would be 1999. There's
yeah.
articles about them having activity at that New Jersey airport as well.
Yeah, well, maybe this guy, but I just, found it
There's a
odd that
lot
he would
there.
have had.
There's a lot there still.
Yeah. I mean, he would have. It's odd that he happened to be there that night or that evening, and then of course he had to chime in on the weather, the lies about the weather, and saying that I was, he was a good pilot, but he shouldn't have flown, and obviously we know I talked all about that on Coast to Coast. What
Yeah, and
a
then
big
you had a
lie that
caller
was.
that was trying to fight you on that, and I actually
Oh
have
yeah, yeah,
the stills of the weather charts that you
yeah. It
were
was
referring to
yeah. They were
because
online.
Anthony Hilder still has it on the Wayback Machine on his Free World Alliance
Anthony
website.
Hilder was, and it was so sad. Anthony Hilder died a number of years ago, so I was really distraught to hear that because he did a lot of great research on
Yeah,
that. His name is right there with Gennardo, who I think has passed on too, supposedly,
yeah.
and John Quinn, and of course John Hankey. These guys and Hilder. And Sherman Skolnick did some great work too. And
He's gone too. He's
he's
gone
gone
as
too,
well.
but I would love to have. And then I made the mistake of thinking this kook Andrea Skolnick was related to him, and she wasn't. But oh,
Yeah.
you talk about the best and brightest in the JFK Research Committee. Ah, if you've dealt with her, you've dealt with somebody. Let me tell you, somebody who never did anything, and she's
I
a,
love
a great.
I love I really would love for you to make contact with Pat Shannon because Pat
Oh, I'd
Shannon
love
not
to too. But
only
I think he's the one that was it Pat Shannon, the DB kid. Remember I had DB kid on the show,
yep.
and she didn't seem interested in coming back on, but she's the one that told me. I think it was Pat Shannon that he just his family felt threatened and he just backed off. I think that was him.
No, I
Maybe I'm
ended up
thinking some other guy.
I had him on Get Mad like about 2 years ago, and, I was
Oh,
supposed to have him on
okay.
again, but I never did. He's an older
Hmm.
gentleman, so he's kinda like the John Barber situation, like, with the technology, it was kinda hard to get it set up or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think you would really get a kick out of him because he goes all the way back to not only JFK, RFK, but he was doing reporting in the 70s with, Jonestown. He was also into the OKC bombing, and also TWA, like everything from the 90s and everything. Like he's a wealth of information, and he's still around.
Send me his email again. Yeah, I need because I maybe I'm thinking of some other author she said that did a lot of work on Oklahoma City, I think, and stuff, and said he's not interested anymore. But I don't know. Maybe it's not the same guy, but
Because
she's
he
had a
even
whole
did
lot.
no, Pat Shannon even did an expose originally of the Montana Minutemen. I don't know if you remember that whole
I
thing in the
remember
mid 90s. Yeah,
the Minutemen were big. Yeah, I remember the Minutemen, and they all that was, and that's why Oklahoma City was so important because
yeah,
that was at the time when the third party movement was at its peak almost, and you
yeah,
had the militiamen everywhere. And Clinton, boy, after that happened, Bill Clinton demonized the militiamen, and that you couldn't say you were a militia member after that, or you might as well. Now it's like the Proud Boys, the same kind of thing.
yeah.
Oh, okay, you were. John Blascon says Sherman Skolnick was a real deal. He sure was, man. This is a guy who was disabled. He was in a wheelchair, and he would just he started something called the committee, the Citizens Committee to Clean Up the Courts. I think it was
Yes,
called,
yeah.
and which is just a great name. And he was out of Chicago, and A lot of
Anyone out
cross-border.
there that what Don's talking about, anyone out there, Wayback Machine, before they scrub it, like he still has a website out there and it's beautiful. Like he has articles on airplane sabotage, like including JFK Jr. Like he has that, but he also goes back to the early 70s with E. Howard Hunt's wife getting killed in that.
Oh, yes. I remember that. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Sherman Skolnick's work.
Yeah. 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 That's right. Yeah. He was a great guy. I would have loved to have,
Yeah.
too bad we didn't get this internet thing going a little earlier. I would have loved to have that guy on.
You
He
were
was, he
already
was,
here, and I told you a long time ago. For anyone out there that doesn't know, Don had a website. Like, actually, Don's website, there was a message board. You had like it was like a blog
yes.
or something.
Yes,
You
it was.
had
Yeah.
you had a message board with that blog where it was the night of JFK Jr. and I was looking at it and it wouldn't like it was a lot of dead links for all different
Yeah.
replies and
Yeah.
everything. And I was hoping that somebody saw some footage or something and talked about it, but it was all kind of dead links. But you actually were back then. You were there. You were back then.
Oh, yeah. It was called I Protest. Just like
Yeah.
it's kind of a theme with me, as you might have
Oh yeah.
discovered by now. But yeah, I know that was, and it was, I didn't really know what the internet was. I was learning. It was one of those things where I put the website together myself with the free tools they have, so it was really easy to do. But
It's
and
like
yeah,
Dave
oh yeah,
McGowan's style because Dave McGowan's website wasn't much different at the time.
yeah. No, he didn't update it much at all after that. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's yeah, we got to. I'm looking at what we have in the chat right here. Yeah, we obviously discussion lots and lots of issues, but I don't know. What do you know anything else about the two Israelis? RB Ham, chime in on any other suspicious thing you think about that. I just when I heard it, and I said, okay, two Israelis killed, and naturally my antenna goes right up with that because
Me
okay,
too.
it's too convenient. Because again, you have a situation now where Israel has never been less popular in the world. I mean, it's what they've done, over the last year, and the devastation they've wrecked, and the footage of just looks like what you see from a trailer park with after a hurricane goes through or whatever, and it's just nothing but
Yeah.
rubble everywhere, and this there's no way nobody justifies it. The only way they can still justify it are these crazy right wingers. Now there's a guy, I forget his name. I think his name is Randy Fine or something. Some Jewish member of Congress. I never heard of him, and he looks like Haystacks Calhoun. He looks like he weighs 500 pounds, and so he got on there and just to make it even more humorous, and he basically advocated after the two Israelis were killed. He's advocating that we should drop a nuclear bomb on Gaza. This is a member of our Congress, and so it's just it's this. I've never thought I'd see Jewish power and Israeli power discussed so openly, but I mean, it's Jimmy Dore on the left. Everybody's talking about it, and
Yeah.
you go on and especially the black guys like Jason Whitlock and the Hodge twins and things. These guys openly. I mean, the Hodge twins had David Duke on, and they were real friendly with him. They
Yeah.
yucked it up. I mean, they had a great interview, but so it's kind of ironically, the government is clamping down, and the Zionists in power are trying to stop people, but they can't. I mean, it's just it's everywhere. Nobody buys this stuff, and the what they've done this time, they went too far with in Gaza. They killed too many people, and nobody's buying that this is all Hamas. That whatever Hamas is even,
Yeah.
and so when they kill two Israelis again, they're the death of two Jews, to them is worth. It's the same thing as 500,000 non-Jews. That's the
Yeah.
way they think. And Randy Fine, okay, that's right. Yeah, so I knew Chris Buchan would be on it. How much does he weigh, Chris? Do you know his weight? Let's say he's newly from Florida. He used to be a Florida state rep. He lauded himself as the only Jewish Republican in the Florida legislature. Wow, man. Something tells me the Florida legislature under non-Jew DeSantis is plenty Zionist enough without that guy in there. Wow, that's
I'm still people are talking about the two Israelis that got killed just now. I'm still scratching my head about the dancing Israelis and the art students and stuff that were in the trade centers.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I go back 20 something years. So
You mean the crazy? I thought it was the wasn't it the dancing Saudi Arabians? I thought, according to Trump. I don't know.
well, Trump,
Maybe it was,
yeah, he changed
yeah,
that story
Trump.
around.
He
Yeah,
changed it. Somebody was dancing. Yeah, yeah. No, that's. I mean, that's
yeah,
again because if I mean that
that's right.
doesn't necessarily mean that they were involved, but if somebody's cheering something like that, I mean, I don't know. It kind of stands out. That's
They
just
went
see
they went over when they were released by Michael Chertoff like 6 months later when they got quietly released back to Israel after 9/11. They went on a local TV show in Israel, and they claimed that they were there to document the event. So they're even admitting it on live TV. So and they turned out to be Mossad.
yeah, yeah. It's and so this way it's kind of a it's what I never thought I'd see, and we're talking about in terms even of black fatigue. Now, I'm the one I came up with the term African American fatigue syndrome (AAFS) a few years ago. And I thought I was pretty bold doing that, and now everybody's talking about black fatigue. They're all talking about it. It's everywhere, and so I think that that's refreshing that the woke stuff is not it's not playing like it used to in terms of blacks and transgenders. The half the country's not buying that nonsense either.
Yeah,
But the Jewish thing is a little different. But people are finally focused on, hey, you this is there's nothing wrong mentioning that there's a lot of disproportionate power here. And that's what they're saying. Jimmy Dore certainly doesn't hate Jews, but he talks about them all the time. He talks about Zionism all the time now, and the left especially is very critical of it. So I think they went too far, and so they're going to have to come up with some kind of false flag to win people back. And obviously, I don't think this was a good enough one, so I don't think it's going to work. Tony
yeah.
Lyons, almost the guy that owns Substack is Tony. I mean Substack. Skyhorse is Tony with a Tony Lyons. And Kean says everybody's got it. Absolutely, and it's just it's just we're sick of the division. We're sick of people trying to divide us. Tall Tim said he loves my essay on the fat black women statues. Yeah, that got more. Paul Craig Roberts published that and called it one of the most brilliant essays he's ever read, or something. So I thought he didn't like me anymore, but it's nice he read it. I guess he still reads me, but
Really, he
uh,
commented on it.
yeah, he called it one of the most brilliant essays he's ever read, and he published it
Wow,
on his website. And
wow.
so I don't know. I don't know what appeals to him. I mean, again, I took a chance doing that, but I mean, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Yeah,
I couldn't care less if somebody calls me racist. It's lost all meaning. It's a joke. We racist. But so are band-aids. So are the birds. So is sleep. So is math and grammar. You've all said those are racist. So I'm in good company. So it's just stupid. And at some point, we have to stop this pandering and this
yeah,
nonsense. And everybody should be treated fairly and equally. But they don't want to do that.
yeah.
John Basculin says urban moving employees were gone the day after 9/11. They were Mossad.
Urban moving systems. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Dominic Suter. He escaped to Israel. He was the owner of that operation in New Jersey. Yeah.
Tony Line says, yes, my I and Y are reversed. I'm a girl. Yeah, I figured you probably were a Toni. Well, it's nice to have you here, Tony. But that is very close to Tony Lyons is a publisher of Skyhorse, has published four of my books, and is a good friend of RFK Jr. I think he's really involved with him, was
How
in his
close do you
campaign.
think you are of getting him on the show? I know he's like with Trump and everything, but what do you think with the Skyhorse thing?
No, it didn't work so far, but especially now that he's with Trump. Because I mean, again, I mean, I still think whatever good comes out of the Trump administration is going to come because of Bobby Kennedy. Whatever good is going to be because of RFK Jr. Whatever he might be able to get done with Rabbi Shmuley, backs off a little bit. But he he's he kisses Trump's ass now so much when he sees him. I mean, it's embarrassing. It really is. And I guess, Trump has made it known to all his staffers this is what he wants. But I mean, to see RFK Jr. do it, but I guess he figures, okay, this is the guy that put me in a position to do something. So
Yeah.
I think he probably does. All the Democrats hate me, so I think he does like him, obviously in some kind of way. I don't know, but
I see
yeah, well,
Chris Buchan is talking about Scott DiCarlo. I
yeah,
contacted Scott DiCarlo a few years ago, and he won't talk about that arrest of the dancing Israelis.
was Scott DiCarlo the cop?
He was the cop in New Jersey that pulled them
Yeah,
over.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
he only
par for the
did
course, isn't it?
he did that one interview that you can find like on YouTube, but he won't talk about it anymore
No, yeah. Tony
because
Lyon
I
says,
tried to get you guys connected for Hidden History 3, and he
yeah,
won't
no,
talk. No.
I mean, all the people we tried to contact, I mean, just, it was
April Gallup, yeah.
April, yeah, and these are people that have talked before, so they've all clammed up, and
William Rodriguez, who was always
oh,
doing
yeah.
seminars and everything, and now he
Well,
can't.
yeah, yeah. Well, he just said he stopped doing interviews for now. So, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Tony Lyon says, yeah, we had the same name. Didn't he write Alex Jones's book? And he published Alex Jones's book.
yeah,
So Skyhorse is the biggest place for somebody like me that could possibly get published because it publishes the more controversial stuff. So yeah, it sold Alex. I don't think he wrote it. Somebody probably wrote it. I don't know that Alex wrote it, but it sold a lot of copies.
are you still in contact with Harrison Smith, by the way?
He hasn't answered me. He had me on one time, and the last few times I've texted him or anything, he doesn't answer. So
Oh, I'm
it
sorry.
is what it is. It's just, I know these guys. It's really frustrating to
Yeah,
get a hold these because again, genuine celebrities are much easier to get a hold of. I don't know what it is, but it just is.
but you've had some luck with Kim Iverson, though. That's pretty cool.
Yep, yeah. Kim Iverson's pretty nice. I can usually get her. So that she's pretty good. Although people tell me she's limited hangout too. I don't know. I think she's pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. She's had me on. Julia MR says CDC just recommended COVID boosters, the most deadly shot in history, and RFK hasn't pulled it. Yeah, and I keep hearing different things about RFK and the boosters and the vaccines and stuff. I don't know what he's really doing, but yeah, he
Yeah,
needs to be true to what his history has been. Because with
yeah,
children's health defense and everything, they've been great on all these issues. So I don't know if he's told he can only go so far or what. Because I know he doesn't believe this bullshit. I know he doesn't.
yeah.
Because his entire adult life work has been that. Tony Lyon said they were the Palestinians driving the van. Okay, well, should have blamed Palestine for 9/11. I don't know.
Well, some
Right now,
people, some callers into CNN and Fox News, they were claiming to be like the Palestinian Front or something, trying to take credit for 9/11 on the morning of 9/11. So
oh,
people
of
were
course,
trying to
yeah,
blame them right off the bat.
of course, so ridiculous. Yeah. Um,
And
Right now, man says very good to see you.
you remember the footage of people celebrating and everything at CNN and Fox News? They were playing it over and over again, saying that it was like live in
Hey, Chris, can you forward an email? Can you forward the link? RB Ham wants to come on and explain the anomalies. Can you forward the link you got from Tony to
yeah.
RB? Do you have RB's email?
I don't. Yeah.
Okay, let me text it to you. Hold on, I have to find it here.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm just let me find this here. Okay, hold on. Go ahead and talk, Chris. I gotta find this
This
email.
Don, this might be a dangerous thing. Do you want me to just cut and paste the StreamYard link in the chat? I don't know, like if that would cause you a whole bunch of problems or not.
No, better not do that. Let's see.
Okay,
Let's see.
all right. Because I'm
That's
not
good.
sure if you text
Okay.
it to me. I'm on the laptop, so I'm not on my cell phone, so it might be a little tricky.
Oh, okay. How can I email it to you?
It does, yeah. Email, yeah,
Okay, and that's your the Gobain email, right?
yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm emailing you now. Hold on a second.
Anyway, folks, yeah. So, yeah, on the morning of 9/11, there were anonymous calls to various networks that were claiming responsibility for the attacks that morning. And one of them was, I think, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was like the Palestinian Front or something like
Uh-huh.
that, and
Yeah.
uh, and then they started
Just
almost
emailed you, Chris.
okay. So almost immediately after that, they started bringing up like people like Jerome Hauer of Kroll Associates, which our friend Peter Seacosh knows all about.
Uh-huh.
Um, Started going on talk shows and talking about Osama bin Laden and all sort of stuff. So anyway, so I'm going to check my email. So just bear
It
with
should
me.
be there. We'll get it to you, RB. Chris Buchan says I never had. Chris, I'm kind of scared to have you on, Chris Buchan. I don't know. Maybe I will one day. I have. I should. I should. I'm a little scared to tell you the truth. You're kind of a wild card there. Um,
Well, nowadays with just the criticism and everything of Israel and everything, I don't think it would be that much of a lightning rod thing nowadays.
oh no, wait, Deborah Wheeler's. All right, Deborah Wheeler, your recommendation is good. She says, please have Chris Buchan on as a featured guest soon. The people have spoken. All right, Chris, I'll have to get in
There you
touch with
go.
you.
Democracy.
Yeah, maybe we can do it next week. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Deborah's question. Well, that's good. Deborah, they don't come any better than Deborah. So yeah, I have to do that. So did you get it? You got it right.
I do. Yeah. Just bear with me.
Okay, RB, you should be getting in a second, but as RB is obviously on top of this thing. So when he investigates stuff, Keanu Coombs says Chris is a riot with Steppen Versteppen on Sundays. Unfortunately, that airs at the same. I didn't know. So Chris is on other shows. I didn't know that. And White Wolf says the same thing. White Wolf wants Chris Buchan on too.
There you
Cool.
go.
All right, who I don't know. Well, again, like you said, the times they are changing, and Chris's views are pretty mainstream now. If you look out there, this is this is what we're all talking about now. This is as I said, I never thought I would see the day. But again, what happens is when you don't allow something to be discussed for so long, and then enough people start discussing it, uh, and then at some point people are going to say, no, why can't I ask? Why can't I ask that question? Why can't I say this? I should be able to point that out, and there's good reason for it. Again, you're talking about a group of people that are 2% of the population.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if you remember, but we were even kind of skittish about including any of the that dancing Israeli stuff for any of the
right.
books and everything. Even
Yeah, yeah.
the
Things,
Israeli art ring, the bee thing project that was actually in the trade center.
yeah, things have changed. Chris said, I remember 2 years ago when you all said, shut up. Well, I never said that, Chris. I never tell anybody, I never call people racist. But so you were, I always let you stay. I found your contributions amusing, a bit obsessive perhaps, but again, your people are coming around to you because again, when you see something like, that many people killed, as has happened in Gaza, and you see us supporting it, and you see the president of the United States holding the chair of Netanyahu. I mean, eventually, sure, Tony
It's
Line says, since
sent
your
God.
interview,
So hopefully, it went through.
oh, Tony, yeah, Tony Line. Last week, I had the guy from South Africa. I said, your interview with your thoughts on the recent White House visit. Yeah, I'm wondering if Trump decided to bring up South Africa is accused of. Yeah, I don't. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, that was it was certainly interesting. If you read my Substack, Tony, I hope you subscribe. Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. I just put it out today, and it goes into that. I have a nice little picture of Trump holding up the pictures of all the dead people with the South African president sitting there, kind of with a smile on his face. And yeah, I thought it was one of those. That and the Zelensky visit are, I've never seen any kind of White House summits or whatever with world. Okay, RB says he's still waiting for the link. You
I
said it
said
right,
it.
Chris?
I sent it. Yeah.
RB, you should have it. He said you sent it to the email I have for you, unless you got another email. So it should be in there. Do you see it?
Yep.
Robin Lee loves my Substack. I said my Substack is it's where I get the most attention now. I have the most followers there, and it's It's very odd though, because the last several I'm getting more and more readers, more and more free subscribers, more and more comments and restacks, but my paid subscribers are going down. So I don't know what to make of that. It's very bizarre. I mean, everything that I have is free there, but everything that was growing too, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh yeah, check your spam, RB. Good point, Chris Buchan. Yeah, sometimes it goes to spam. We've had that problem before with the links, but so it could be there. I don't have the link. Chris has to forge it because I'm always signed into it. But so
should be there.
Chris Bucket's missing. He's full of good points.
I just checked my sent folder, and yeah, it was sent to that email that you gave me. So
okay, hopefully I had it right. I just copy and pasted what I have for him. So make sure like it didn't include like I didn't put a little figure at the end of it or whatever. It shouldn't be any weird figure at the end of it. Tony Lyons says she puts my name out there. I appreciate that, Tony. I know a lot of you do. I appreciate that very much. It's a competitive marketplace, and the alt media is. I think there's RB. There he is.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's my man. There's RB. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. You can hear me fine?
Yep. It's an action shot. He's behind the wheel. Our RB is a trucker. He was one of the Canadian truckers, and he's got some ridiculous onerous fine slapped on him. You can tell people how they can help you. Good to see you, RB. So what's going on with these Israeli shootings?
I'm just checking in. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
Oh, all right, good. Okay. Sometimes when I'm driving. Okay. Anyway, here's the skinny. Let's start with the victims first. One was the guy was an IDF soldier. No, check this out. He was born in Nuremberg, Germany. He's a Christian. Yeah. He moved to Israel, became a dual citizen, and he's a Zionist Christian. The woman he's marrying is Jewish. They're planning to get married, but she was a peacenik. She wanted to reach out towards the Palestinian people and try to arrange a peaceful solution. So why? And his social media, his social media. He's all
you're kind of breaking. I'm not catching a lot of what you're saying. You're kind of breaking up, RB.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I heard that, but
okay. Sorry when I'm going up and down hills. Anyway, so his social media. The IDF soldier, he was born in Nuremberg, Germany, which is really weird. Then he moved to Israel, and he's a Zionist Christian. And he's totally on board with completely annihilating the Palestinian people and taking over all of Gaza. Got that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so the woman he was going to marry, the other victim, is a peacenik. She was reaching out. She's with a group in Israel that was trying to get peace with Palestinian people. So why a bloodthirsty Zionist like him would want to marry her in the first place is really weird. Okay. Now here's the other anomaly. Here's the other weird thing about it. There was no security. Okay, so these Israeli embassy staffers went to this Jewish museum for this event, and they had no security at all. And the killer, who I'm going to call, his name is Elliot Rodriguez, who I'm going to call MK Ultra Rodriguez, is a pro-Palestinian, was involved in a Palestinian solidarity group about 4 or 5 years ago, around 2018, 2019. He showed up for a couple meetings and then never went again, just to establish the bona fides, I guess, right? Very weird guy, and we'll more about him anyway. So he shows up, and I guess he was seen by people trying to get into the event, but the doors were locked. And then he stood around and hung out, very suspiciously, walking up and down. Then four people left the event. He picked 2 of them, killed those 2 people, let the other 2 leave. And then he didn't run away. He didn't try to hide. He walked into the event and then pretended to be a bystander for a little while. Then gave himself up to the police. And then while they were waiting for the police to come get him, he was seen just standing there being nice with this guy who's obviously his handler. And he waits for the police to get up. to get there, he puts out his arms to get handcuffed, and he's looking around and looking around, and when he sees the cameras, he starts singing, "Free, free Palestine, free Palestine," in that sing-song way that protesters do.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. What stinks to high heaven?
So, well, what is the What is the? I haven't paid attention to it that much. What has the reaction been in Congress and Trump? Are they ready to go to war? What is the response?
Well, from what I've seen on mainstream media, a few snippets I've seen, they brought on the usual suspects to try to paint all Palestinian supporters now as evil, right? That one Randy Fine guy went on TV and said that it is now obvious that anybody who says free Palestine is evil, and that the whole Palestinian cause is evil, and that we should nuke the Gaza Strip. Not even thinking for a second, well, wouldn't that blow back onto Israel? Gaza's right beside Israel. So this guy's a complete lunatic. But obviously they're going to try to, you watch, they're going to try to push this. The Jonathan Greenblatt's already come out, the ADL guy, and he's saying that this obviously shows how evil Palestinians are and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But this guy, this MK Ultra Rodriguez, was very involved in local politics in Chicago, Obama's home stomping ground.
Right on.
He's got MK Ultra written all over him, and he was involved with black community outreach groups. This Hispanic guy, involved with Palestinian groups, involved with black outreach groups. I mean, this guy's got MK Ultra written all over him. And then, of course, the other thing is there was no security. We did a Jewish event with a Jewish museum with all this supposed anti-Semitism running rampant. They don't have six. They don't have six.
Yeah.
Why don't they have 6 ex-Mossadians standing out front of that place making sure nothing happens? Come on. It's set up hell of a way. And I'm not saying nobody died. We all know that these Zionists and MFers have no problem killing their own to advance their cause. So I can see it. I can see them sacrificing 2 of their own.
I'm with you, and I appreciate the background details. And I just hear it, and I just hear it. And, again, it's not, it wasn't 2 Catholics, killed by some deranged Jewish Defense League member. It's always the same kind of thing, 2 Jews. And so this
and it's also the timing. A day after a UN delegation of diplomats got shot at by the IDF, a day after Piers Morgan comes out and starts and finally turns against the Israel, what Israel's doing, causing the famine in the Gaza Strip. Finally turned like this, and then another poll came out. There was a poll that came out about 4 months ago showing that America had flipped and they no longer supported Israel. Well, a new poll had just come out showing that it was like 70% against what Israel was doing.
Yeah.
So I think they panicked, and they're just freaking out.
Very, very convenient time for this. And we talked about Bongino earlier with Cash Patel, and Jimmy Dore played a clip of him. Somebody asking him, "What issue are you really passionate about?" And he goes, "Israel."
Israel.
The defense of Israel. So, yeah, that was his first thing that came in his mind that he's passionate about. So. Probably
his first thing he was passionate about was Israel, and then the second thing he was passionate about was the defense of Israel. I mean, I don't know what the Mossad has on Don Bongino, but I bet you it's just as dark as what they have on Douglas Murray.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that. But yeah, well, that's I don't know. We'll see what happens. You're right. I think that they're losing. It's just it's indefensible. The world recognizes that they can't keep just because of the October 7th, whatever happened on October 7th. They can't continue in perpetuity to claim to use that to justify just decimating an entire people. And this is what they're doing. And it just there's you've got to be like that Haystacks Calhoun guy, the Randy Fine or whatever, or Bongino.
Well, Don, didn't something similar happen in September of 2001?
Oh yes.
October
7th.
What happened?
October. Remember what happened? After October 7th, Netanyahu came out and he made it. He said, "This is our 9/11." So what is he basically saying? This is our false flag. And you're trying to tell me that the IDF stood down for 8 hours and let a bunch of Hamas reprobates go hog wild in the inside the Israeli fence. And if you look into what happened on October 7th, that was a complete setup. There's an Israeli guy that immediately came out and said it's a false flag. And you know what really gives it away is the hang gliders. Okay, Hamas is using hang gliders to come into that Nova Community Festival.
Yeah, what a strange way, yeah.
So for the Mossad didn't know that these guys are training hang gliders in Hamas in Gaza. They have 24/7 surveillance of the entire Gaza Strip. They know where everybody is, and they have informants galore inside Gaza. They start them on purpose so they can get people for a loaf of bread. They'll get
I love you, brother. I'm still not catching. I know you're saying lots of great stuff, RB, but I'm missing a lot of what you're saying. It's chopping up. I know you're. It's amazing you're able to do this while you're driving. Again, people don't know RB. This is a genuine Canadian trucker, and he was involved in the convoy, and he, like a lot of them. I want you to be able to you can understand you to give out your you will find the ridiculous amount of money.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. I can't
hear me now. I made a lot of turns. I'm going to Saskatoon. If you can't hear me, I can still blink out. But I'll put my stuff in the chat. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Love you, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, brother. Okay. Thanks, Herbie. I appreciate you coming on, okay? Take care. Sorry, I mean, he was saying some great stuff, and again, it was hard because he was driving and everything, but yeah.
I couldn't really hear a lot of it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, he was, so I don't know. Hopefully they didn't grow, but I mean, RB is a great guy, and it's,
yeah.
But you can see how he's making his living. He's great. And I look up on his website, or look him up if you're hooked up with him on alt media, because social media, because I want to say he owes almost $100,000 or something. It's ridiculous. They put all these fines on him because this is what they did to the Canadian truckers. And they were doing that because they caught the eyes of the world, much as the situation in Gaza has caught the eyes of the world now, too. I mean, even as jaded as most people are, they can recognize when something's just, so over the top. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
And that's when Trudeau was like taking over people's bank accounts and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, but in space like RB, those guys like that, he's still trying to make his living as a trucker. It can't be, an easy job, and he's not that young, so being able to do it, it's amazing. But it's so I do think that things have really changed, and so they're you're having people that I'm thinking seriously. I don't know what you people know. I think I could get him on. I'm thinking about having David Duke on the show. I'm thinking because apparently, according to Jeff Renz, I don't know if he can do it. Apparently, he's pretty sick. So I don't even know if he can do it. But again, he doesn't sound that extreme now. And when you look at what's going on, and he was right about a lot of things. And so
that's how messed up our world is right now, Tom.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is, but it's because again, the subject was not addressed over the years. They demonized people who mentioned it, and most people who did mention it were like David Duke. They're extreme when they were mentioning it, but the subject is still there, and you can see in something like this where literally these Jewish Zionists that are really, pro-war, they believe that because they believe that we're inferior to them, and so they believe that the two lives that were lost, is worth whatever they retaliate with.
Yeah.
And again, this is not, this happened in America, but I guarantee you, Israel, figures that they have a reason to retaliate. Yeah. But it's Deborah Will says, David, I think a lot of people I'm going to try to get him on. I know he knows who I am, So we'll see if you know if I can get him on there. I assume he's up to it. I have to talk to Jeff and see if he's up to it.
It would make some noise. I don't know if like that's the noise you want, but it would definitely
Oh,
turn some
oh.
heads.
Well, because I think he's when you saw the interview he did with Alex Jones, it showed where he could be because Alex Jones was bending over backwards to be fair to him.
Yeah.
And he kept interrupting and telling Alex, "You won't let me talk." So I don't know what was going on that day, but most of the time when I've heard him talk, he's a single issue guy. He is thoroughly obsessed with Jewish supremacy. I understand that, but the world has kind of come around towards this direction. And this is a guy who people used to say he was a disinfo agent, whatever. As I understand it, David Duke, I don't know him now. Well, he was living in a small trailer in Utah or something. So if he's an asset, they're not paying him very well.
Right.
And so he did. I don't know what he got out of it or whatever. And he's been his name was thoroughly demonized. And I remember when he was running for he flew under the radar. And he was a state representative in Louisiana, and then he ran for governor, and he was ahead in all the polls. It's probably back in the 90s, I think, maybe
Yeah.
80s. I remember Larry King, all the media conspired to stop him from becoming governor. David Duke I still remember Valerie Bertinelli. Well, I used to think very, very cute, very cute, typical cute airhead that obviously has no awareness of politics. He has her on there.
One day at a time, right? One day at a time.
Yeah,
This
one day
is
at a time.
Eddie Van Halen.
Yes, Mrs. Eddie Van Halen. One day at a time. And he says to Valerie Bertinelli, he goes, Larry King says, "So, how are you handling what's going on in Louisiana?" And of course, she just gives him a look like big smile. What? She didn't know he was talking. I goes, with the governor's race. And she still doesn't understand. He says, she looks blank because she's not interested in the governor's race in Louisiana. He's, David Duke running. I mean, are you doing whatever you can to stop him? And I'm thinking, she's an actress in Hollywood. And then she's like, somebody obviously signaled her. She goes, oh, yeah, we have to stop it. We can't possibly have him. And that was going on all the time in the media then. And they even did. That was the first time I know they doxed voters, doxed campaign contributors. They published in the I think the New Orleans Stateside, whatever that was the biggest newspaper in New Orleans. They published the names of hundreds, if not thousands, of people who had donated to David Duke's campaign to shame them, because obviously they didn't want people known that I gave to this racist or whatever. And I think that was really despicable. And I love Pat Buchanan, but it was not his finest hour when David Duke was running as a Republican for president, if you remember. I think in '92 or something like that. And Buchanan went out and he goes, "I'm so proud that I got David Duke's that David Duke out of the party forever. We don't need his kind in there." I thought, David Duke's positions are very close to yours, Pat. But it's just David Duke was demonized. And I'm looking at see here. I think David Duke would be.
I saw what Tim Tall or Tall Tim or Tim Tall or whatever talks about another duck in a noose. That quote.
No, yeah. What was
that was that MK Ultra phrase that the DC snipers supposedly, like when they heard the cop go on TV during the press conference, and then they gave themselves up like hours later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That stood out to me for some reason. But yeah, David Duke, he's not affiliated with Rents anymore, right? Like, do they part ways?
No, he is, because David Duke was saying good things about him off the air to me, or on air, I think. But so I think I think it's because he's sick. I'm not sure, so he may not be able to come on anyhow. But Tony Lyon says he thinks David Duke's campaign back then for president was "Make America Great Again." Isn't that odd? Where have we heard that before?
Wasn't one of Reagan's slogans like the same thing back in the 80s too?
Yeah, it pretty much almost the same thing. We're almost out of time though, Chris. I'm gonna give you a chance to give any kind of link or pro to whatever whatever you want to say. Give you the last minute or so.
Well, I'm at Seagraves Mass Guy, and any kind of help that anybody can give. I have a PayPal and a Cash App thing. The digital panhandling, I really hate to do it. I'm not sure the next time I'm going to be able to do this because, like I said, I have to find some kind of housing for myself and my sister right now. So, and clearing out the trailer is something that I got to do this weekend. So, thanks for having me on again, Don, and I appreciate
That's
you, man.
always good. Well, your friend Chris, you started out as somebody who liked my work and became a friend and really just we all wish the best for you, but you gotta first focus, call the realtor.
Yeah,
First things first, get the realtor out there, get somebody that knows what they're doing to advise you. So you do that, and we all wish the best for you. Thanks so much for being on, and again, our heart goes out to you. Call the
thank you.
realtor. You'll get something out of it. Thanks everybody for listening to I Protest. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Take care.